Good morning. Oh, it's very exciting to be here again today. How the heck are you doing, Heather?
I am good. I feel like I put a full day in already. I went to the gym at 5:15, so that means waking up super early.
Oh, good for you. I did
Try.
not today. Tuesdays and Thursdays are ideally my days off, but
Yes.
and sometimes Saturdays. But good for you.
Yeah,
I think you went with Jackie too, right? In a group
I
of
did.
people.
That's why you don't go Tuesday, Thursday, because Jack and I do.
That's right. But hey, actually, before I even get into all this, because this is kind of fun, this is a little extra nugget. Is going to the gym is freaking hard. We could maybe we'll do this on a different one, but going to the gym is harder. Committing to things that we don't really want to do
Yeah.
becomes extremely challenging. Um, what's made it a little bit easier for you?
Well, my accountability partner, of course.
Oh, that's it. That's all I get.
That's it. That's all you get.
Well, all right. Well, I'm gonna throw a little extra.
Accountability partner, going to an actual class where I have a time set that I need to go, and putting on my calendar. Those are the three things.
And getting those text messages at early as heck in the morning. I
Right.
know I see them.
Yeah. Hear them.
And I hear them. But it's fun. So now we got our daughters getting more exercise, so they're going jogging and biking, and they were just. I think they just got tired of not doing it. So it's interesting. Anyways, I digress. But coming back to today is we did miss last month. Admittedly, it's just lots of things happening, and it's exciting. And I think it's okay to miss once in a while. Maybe not all the time. Consistency is key, but we're all human. So we do we have to give ourselves a little bit of flexibility in whatever industry we're in, especially if it's that important but not urgent bucket, right? There's things we want to do and there's things that we need to do. And if we don't get the things done that we need to do first, the want to do's just honestly shouldn't happen. That's my opinion, especially when you have a partnership model, right? Even more so. But here we are today. This one's very exciting to me. So what are we going to talk about today, Heather?
We're gonna talk about technology.
Oh, you mean like this thing we're on right now?
Hey, yes, like me sitting here and you sitting there, and us being able to talk to the one person that's watching us right now. It's probably David. Can you see?
Well, it's funny because that's not always right either. So
Yeah.
right.
Well, we have Facebook and all of that. Yeah, no, technology is amazing, and I think it's played a really big role in our industry and in our agency and how people are doing things nowadays. It's a really pertinent conversation.
Yeah. Do you remember? Oh my gosh. Do you remember the first days of Netflix?
I remember TV. Yeah.
I remember when we got before the DVD, or I guess the DVD was there. I remember the first one I ever streamed. I was living in OB, and actually, I remember exactly what it was too. But it was so pixelated because my internet was so horrible. And it's interesting because then a lot of the movie industry thought that this wasn't going to take hold, right? Netflix is crazy, but look today. I mean, we're streaming live, better quality today than we could stream movies a while ago.
Right.
Oh my God, we're getting old.
Yeah.
But I wanted to bring it back to our industry. So I think I guess I'll start this piece and then lob it over to you. Is when I first came into the industry, I remember the way that we did business. And honestly, we took a lot of apps on paper. And then we had this platform that would sometimes work. It was computer-based with the duck company I was with before. It was actually a very good system, but it would crash all the time. So we'd have paper as a backup and computer.
Well, and that system wasn't even web-based, right? It was just on our computers. So luckily we didn't have to worry about having internet and all of that stuff, but that progressed too, right? So I came in after you. We weren't doing as much paper. We were doing more of that computer-based program. But I remember when they rolled out a new program and a web-based program, right? And I was in leadership at that time. And so I had the task of helping guide my agents that had been there into new technology. Of course, new people coming in, that's all they knew, right? But this transition, and you saw it, the transition between paper to a platform, and then from that platform to a web-based platform, you know, and of course I was just leading my team at the time. You were leading our entire organization. So, I mean, what was your experience during that time?
Oh my gosh, it was fun. So right before you came in, I was on the really old system. We couldn't send it over Wi-Fi. We had to plug into a non-digital phone line. Non-digital was key. And sometimes it might take an hour and a half to send business. And if it got interrupted, you'd have to start all over.
Yep.
Remember that? I remember that. So we'd send it at night, like right when we were going to bed, and hope and pray it worked out well. It didn't usually take that long, but sometimes it did. Then we moved to the next version of it where you came in. It was much better. People fought it. But the big change was, and you saw this, was when we went from that computer-based to the web-based model. And man, people fought it, right? We had, go ahead.
I was going to say, I mean, I don't think it really matters what technology you're talking about. Anytime you have to change, people just resist change. They like what they know. It's a whole new learning. It gets people uncomfortable. I mean, if you look at banking systems and, you know, anytime a large company goes through a major system change, I mean, they have people that are actually going out to locations to train the employees on this new system. And there's a lot of actual kind of a nerd when it comes to the psychology of stuff, right? And if you really study the psychology of that and change, it doesn't matter if we're talking about, you know, a new system. Oh, I have a friend that has a new system to submit her expenses on, you know, and she resisted it for many months because it was something new and she didn't want to have to do it. But as soon as you get into it and then you get more familiar, right, we can transition. But I mean, we saw that with us leading people in our organization during those changes. And we see them other places too, right?
Yeah. And what if it doesn't work? Oh my gosh, what if we don't have internet? What if there's a lot of what?
It reminds me of a bumper sticker. I've heard this before, but it was a bumper sticker on, not the one I told you the other day. That wouldn't be appropriate for the call here, but a different one. But they make shirts and all that, right? And it says, "But did you die?" No, right? It's meant to be kind of like, you know, people make a big deal out of everything. It's like, "But did you die?" Like, no, like, you're okay, right? And so you probably have seen that. And
I want that bumper sticker. I would put that as, yeah, I'd probably put that more on my like toys trailer going out to the desert. But
there you go.
Because then I could point to it for my wife.
But it's just kind of the nuclear version of what you're saying, right? As far as like, oh, what if it breaks? Well, oh well, right? And then you wait and you fix it and you just work through it.
Well, the bigger thing is what happens if we resist change too much? And where are we going to be? And we've seen this happen actually going way back to ACA times. And there's somebody you talk to that may have been that may have worked with a carrier. I know that we talked about it, and there were how many brokers pre and post ACA?
Right.
Do you remember that conversation? Yep. And so what happened, and this is what I keep this right here to remind myself, if we don't adapt, we die. Or we move on.
Well, and I think there's different, you know, if you're talking about just change in general, there's different time it takes for that change, right? Is it a quick change? Like, is it overnight change? Is it something that takes a long time? Is it something that, you know, you look at adoption rates of technology, people do it up front, and then you kind of have the curve and all of that. So I think there's some things that, if you don't change that much, oh, well, like if I don't have TikTok on my phone, I'm probably fine. I'm not missing out on too much. That's a change for me.
I don't know. That's addictive, by the way. Just
I don't have so many social networks, but that's probably not that impactful to me, right? But if I don't get on the change of getting electronic statements for some of my other stuff, well, that's not even a good example either. But you know, that, well, actually, that's a good example of the fact that I could stick with the paper invoices, and some people like paper, they like to file them. But if I'm just doing that because I don't like the change of having to shift to electronic, then I'm actually wasting paper. I'm wasting everyone's time, right? I could be more efficient if I went online, but the pain of change sometimes has to be enough for people to do that, right?
Yeah. So now moving into our space, technology. Technology is changing our industry fast and furious. It's happening faster than ever. We were just in Sacramento, right? And one of the ways that you can keep up with the changes, I'm going to throw this little plug in here, is join your association that supports your industry. Ours is the Health Underwriters, or now for California, the California California Association of Health Insurance Professionals, better known as KHIP. But support your industry and get involved, and you'll start to see what's coming.
Right.
But if you don't pay attention to what's coming, you might be a little bit too late. And so one of the things I like to throw out there is, if anybody's seen Rippling's new valuation, right? And it's insane. Rippling is an all-in-one HRS system, and Parker Conrad is there, and from the Zenefits day, and they said Zenefits would never succeed. Well, it maybe didn't go as far as they thought, and it's still doing fine, but it had some setbacks. But the reality is it's still progressing. Technology is here, and some people are fighting it, right?
Some people are, well, gosh, there's just so many factors to it. There's people fighting it. There's also, I mean, if we're keeping with our industry, right?
Yeah.
Technology isn't just, what am I going to use for fulfillment of my product to enroll it? Nowadays, clients expect that broker to understand all of their technology. They're like, well, wait a minute, but I want this to integrate with my payroll. Like, can we use this system? And then they have to know which ones integrate with that, and then spend the time to integrate. We've done that before. That could be fun. So it's not even as cut and dry of like, okay, I'm resisting paper to a platform. It's right. Multi-layered.
Yeah, it is. And some people go from here to here, like, it has to be this way or this way. Maybe I better get in the screen here. This way or this way. One side or the other. But does it really have to? So technology and no people, how well does that work today?
Well, I mean, that was your Zenefits a little bit, right? Whereas just technology, I mean, there were some inherent issues with that. So no, today it can't just be just technology unless very few.
Right. Or the old school way, that's all about people and paper. Oh my gosh. And I still go back to, I know there are some of you out there, by the way, take action now because it's changing. It's still enrolling on paper because you have that relationship. Relationships can only go so far.
Well, and I mean, to speak to that a little, it's also about the positioning as someone who is there for the best interest of the client and to show them the best way to do things and to be a consultant, right? An advisor. Then I believe it's partially that responsibility, whoever's having that conversation, to show what the value of that is, right? Because I just kind of have a feeling some of the people who are still on paper are just because it's like, oh, well, that's what the client wants. Well, have you spoken to the client about what they're doing, the time they're taking, managing, the time you could save them by doing that, the experience for the employees, the ease of people using a system? Are you having that conversation? Because I feel like a lot of people that are showing the value of moving to technology, and the people that aren't are just like, well, they've asked for 3 years for paper.
Yeah, but why do you think that is? Why aren't they embracing technology? Some is maybe that they don't want to rock the boat.
Right.
I think there's a bigger reason why, though.
Well, I think there's some preconceived notions about what their employees like, what the comfortability of technology. And then for some, they like kind of having that control and value they feel they're adding to do those extra things that are now going to be gone. And instead of looking at it like, oh, I have this time freed up to go do some of these other HR responsibilities I'd love to do, they look at it sometimes as a threat, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. The threat is real. I also think it's comfortability, like not knowing something, because you go back to the thing you said earlier, we got to know everything. Brokers need to know everything. It's almost impossible to know everything.
Mm-hmm.
But if we have some of the resources to build that confidence, it makes it easier. Once you get past that first step, I think it becomes easier. And it might not even be the right way. Whatever technology you're looking at might not be the right solution.
Right.
But we have to take time to learn about it. So I think that you have the employer, from our perspective in the insurance industry, we have the employer resistance and the broker resistance and the employee resistance for that matter. There's a lot of resistance.
Yeah.
Call Darth Vader. No, I'm just playing. But how do we get past that resistance? Go ahead, because I can talk forever. How do we get past that resistance?
I mean, I think for some, it's just a matter of being okay getting outside of their comfort zone. And I think that always, of course, remembering the reason why you're doing it, there has to be a reason, right, for us to get out of our comfort zone. Either we're threatened because someone's doing it and we're not, right? Mm-hmm. Or we see that as the only way to succeed. And if those aren't happening, it's comfortable here. So one of the ways is to know why you're doing it and have that in mind, I think. What other ways you think?
Yeah, and taking a step at a time, maybe partnering with others, or for our space specifically, the thing I like to look at is that technology piece is even going from paper to a platform, or from a platform, just a light bin admin to connecting with payroll or going full HRS. It's taking one piece at a time, but leveraging the experts to get there is the other way. And the last piece, I think, is sometimes we don't need to overcomplicate it.
It's true.
An example is talking to a broker at some point, and we've seen this a few times, that they said, you know what, they don't want it because they don't want to deal with this whole bin admin system. It's too much work for them. They're not in business to do benefits. Completely get it. Let's simplify. We use it as our platform to take elections, and we'll guide employees through that process with a full engagement strategy, of course. Little plug there. But we simplify it instead of looking at the whole big picture. Oh my gosh, it's this big bin admin system. No, let's use it to capture elections and make sure that your data is accurate. We will save time later. Well, how do we do that? We provide a guide, we give the education to employees, and we take it off your plate, because you're not the expert here, for Mr. or Mrs. Employer, specifically HR. We don't expect you to know everything day one. That's why you use a brokerage or a partner like us or whatever it might be to guide your employees through that process. Then what happens is when employees start to take hold of this and it's one little piece, then employer sees it and now it becomes more and more part of the process of their business, instead of this thing that they don't want to touch until they absolutely have to. Right?
Exactly, right. And I think even piggybacking on that, kind of laying out those expectations of what's going to happen can be really helpful, because then it's not as much of an unknown. Hey, this year, we're going to help do these things. I know oftentimes you can create even kind of a rollout of, heavier assistance maybe the first year, and then lighter assistance the second, and kind of bringing in some ways to transition so it's not as scary. And again, kind of partnering with those that might help do that. And a company that does that.
Wait, who's that company?
Yeah, I think our logo's up there somewhere. But yeah, change is scary for people. So anytime you can have a plan, you can have support, I think that makes all the difference in that transition. That's what we see in the industry, at least when we do get a step in and support.
Yeah. So how do we conquer fear? It's really two ways. A, we just step into it, embrace it, or B is we find a guide. And I go back to Yoda and Skywalker, and you find that guide to help you get through that process. But today our industry is changing. There are a lot of things that are coming that aren't even here. Some of it's scary, but some of it's really exciting. And we don't want to get lost in the shiny because we already have so much input from so many things. But we all have to decide what's going to be the most important to us, to our business, to our industry, whatever that is to you.
Right.
So I suggest taking a little bit of time researching some of it, or maybe having somebody, if you have a company, multiple people, maybe having somebody head up some of that, or again, belonging to an association, or even just making sure you have like a group of friends in the industry you can talk to, a mastermind group.
Right.
That's specific to your industry. I know that I have one, and it's been really good. So you get to see a few things coming, but admittedly, the thing that's been the best for me is just taking some time to learn about it, and then our association, our industry association, because we start to learn more and more about what's coming, right?
Doing it instead of just getting all this information, like you said, being able to talk and see what's working for people and not is powerful.
All right. There's this company. Oh, last little plug. There's this company coming. They're pretty impressive because what they do is they can suggest your diet based off of your blood. They can tell you if you need more exercise, what are some of your risk factors based off of your genetics, and what can you do to mitigate some of that. And you do these monthly tests with them. It's amazing. It's scary, and it's not 100% here yet, but it's coming. It's close. Yep. Where they can start to give you some guidance. There's actually for cancer already. A friend of mine went through something severe, and he got blood work done, and the technology showed him what he can do to beat cancer, and he did, and it's awesome, and he's a fantastic family man. But we got to embrace technology. I think see what's coming. Don't get lost in the shiny, because that's really easy to do, but just pay attention to it and see what you need to do to adapt. So
yep.
And, I started monologuing here again, huh?
Easy to do. We always have stuff to say.
For
another half hour about this topic. Really, we're not going to. We're going to wrap it up, but again, it's multi-layered when you're looking at it, especially for our industry. And I know, for our agency, one of the things that we really enjoy doing is supporting that technology when needed, and having the high tech, high touch. So it's not just one or the other, and we can transition. We can make people feel as comfortable as they can outside of their comfort zone, and partner. And so I think those that are doing those type of things with others are the ones that are seeing the most success in the industry.
Yeah, I still think it's a blend. I think some will fully embrace technology and got away from the human component, but that's pretty few. Yeah. Some only do the human component. Go ahead.
Especially benefits. I mean, they're not just buying item. They're buying services that they need to understand, and
that are high value. So lower value takes a lot less thought, like a pen or a pencil.
Right.
Well, at least some would argue that. And some take more, but the high value thoughts or the high value products or services take a little bit more thought. So you have the technology and the human, and ideally we're somewhere in between. Right? Even as a geriatric millennial, I love doing all my research. I love the technology piece, but I still like to talk to somebody just to confirm that this is what it really is. I don't want them to make the decision for me. I just want clarity.
Right. And have that option. Yep. And there's multiple places people are. We got to meet them where they are, which is, again, why you have to offer multiple modalities. So thank you for those who have made the transition that we get to partner with and support in that. And for those that haven't, again, like Jack said, recommend maybe move in that direction. So It's not an overnight thing sometimes, but it's worth it.
No, have an amazing day, better week, and of course, better year. If we can ever help, or you just want to chat, you can reach out to Heather or myself, industry related, or heck, we just like meeting people, right, Heather?
Yeah, sure. Call me about anything. All right, bye.